Wisconsin cheese plants. Some plants are of a large capacity, using the latest technology and most advanced methods. Some plants are of a small capacity, using more traditional, handcrafted means of production. But large or small, all employ a time-honored combination of craftsmanship and skill. Cheesemaking is still a process that involves intense labor and lots of time, sometimes years. It's not something you can rush or streamline, and in Wisconsin, we don't try to. Wisconsin cheesemakers take pride in the process and strive for consistent quality in the cheeses they produce. Today, no other state sets higher quality standards than Wisconsin. Wisconsin was the first state to grade cheese for quality and still requires our cheese graders to be licensed through the Department of Agriculture. Cheese graders evaluate in 4 areas: flavor, body and texture, color and finish, and appearance. Wisconsin was also the first to license cheesemakers. And in Wisconsin, no cheese is made without a licensed cheesemaker in the plant during the cheesemaking process. Now, an even higher level of excellence has been established with the Wisconsin Master Cheesemaker Program, a demanding combination of classes and plant applications and inspections that only Wisconsin licensed cheesemakers with at least 10 years of experience may take.
We're able to marry the science behind the cheese making with the artisan aspect. So we're able to package it together because it's definitely something that needs to be appreciated on both sides to make a quality cheese.
It is the highest, most rigorous degree of cheese education and training in the nation.
Overall, I think the cheesemakers themselves see an awful lot of improvement in the quality of the cheeses that they're producing.
While the art of cheesemaking has advanced, the basic process has stayed much the same and still primarily depends on the skill of the cheesemaker. Just as the quality of ingredients affects the outcome of recipes, high-quality milk is essential for cheesemaking.
It's been said that cheese is milk's leap towards immortality. In fact, cheese is the concentrated form of milk.
The major components of cheese are milk proteins, primarily casein, milk fat, and water. After milk is received by the cheesemaker, it is weighed and tested for quality, purity, and composition. The fat content is adjusted according to the type of cheese made from part skim to whole milk to cream. For example, traditional Swiss cheese is made with partially skimmed milk, but baby Swiss is made with whole milk, which gives it a creamier texture and more buttery flavor. Although yields vary based on the fat and protein content of the milk used, it takes about 10 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of cheese. Cheese can be made from either pasteurized or raw milk. In pasteurized milk, any pathogens are eliminated by heating the milk to over 160 degrees for about 15 seconds. Cheese made from raw milk must be cured for over 60 days to eliminate pathogens. The favorable bacteria are known to cheesemakers as starter cultures. Specific cultures contribute to the resulting flavor and texture in different cheeses. 2 examples of starter cultures are Streptococcus and Lactobacillus. The starter culture's primary function is to convert the milk sugar lactose into lactic acid, which acidifies the milk and prepares it for the addition of rennet. Under the influence of acid and rennet, the casein begins to coagulate or gel, trapping most of the milk fat along with the proteins and some of the whey. As the gel-like mass begins to solidify, it is cut into curds. This begins the separation of curds from whey. Whey is the excess liquid which is removed in the cheesemaking process. The size of the curds varies depending on the type of cheese being made. Large curds, cooked at low temperatures, retain more whey, have less protein bonding, and yield softer cheeses such as feta or brie. Curds that are cut smaller cook at higher temperatures, which allows more whey to escape and more protein bonding, which yields harder cheeses such as Asiago or Parmesan. The whey is either drained away from the curds, or the curds are dipped or pumped out of the vat into perforated forms. This step leads to a process known as the knitting of the curds. Knitting transforms individual curds into one body of cheese with the characteristics of the type of cheese desired. Curd knitting time also permits lactic acid development and regulates moisture control. With the combined action of the starter cultures still producing lactic acid, the protein filaments merge into larger fibers and the texture changes from being very elastic to being firm and resilient. Cheddaring is the flipping and turning process used in the manufacture of cheddar cheese. Here, small curds are knit together Then cut into slabs, which are repeatedly turned to drain additional whey and foster proper acidity and cheese body. These slabs are then cut or milled into peanut-sized shapes, salted, and then sold in bags as cheddar curds or pressed into various forms. Other knitting examples are the preliminary packing of Colby and the pulling or kneading of pasta filata cheeses. In each case, the curd mass is manipulated in different ways to transform the curd into different cheese varieties. Salt plays an important role during the knitting process. It is stirred directly into the curds for some types of cheeses, such as cheddar, rubbed on the surface during curing for Swiss, or dissolved in brine for cheeses like provolone and mozzarella. Salt plays 3 important roles. It encourages the curd to expel more whey, lowering the moisture content, enhances the flavor, and slows the bacterial activity, which prevents over-ripening. In the final stage of the curd knitting process, curds are transferred to forms or molds and pressed by their own weight or by applied pressure.
The next step in the process is aging out the cheese. The curing process plays a key role in the final outcome of many cheeses and differs with the variety of cheese being made.
Curing temperatures range from 35 to 50 degrees. Moisture can range from lower to higher levels at 80 to 95%. This is the last step in the cheese-making recipe, which can take weeks, months, and with some cheeses, years to complete. Provolone, cheddar, and Parmesan are examples of cheese with no visible signs of ripening. They're ripened from the action of the bacteria evenly distributed throughout the cheese. Gruyere, Brick, and Limburger are examples of surface-ripened or washed rind cheeses that develop flavor and texture from the action of a harmless mold, bacteria, or yeast that is applied to the surface. During this process, the proteins and fats continue to be broken down into simpler compounds, which helps the cheese develop its final texture and flavor.